Well, a very good evening to you, race fans. Welcome to Oran Park for round 6 of the Alliance Sim Racing Solar Gard Supercar Championship. Season 9 has just gotten past the halfway point, and it's starting to shape up already as a pretty tight race for some of the podium spots, but out in front there is one clear leader as we look towards the second half of this season. Tonight, of course, a classic Australian track here at Oran Park. It's not one that exists anymore in the real world. The only place you can really drive it, right here on iRacing. Great to have you along with us again this evening. My name's Jared Cole. I'm joined in the booth again tonight by Isaac Fogarty. And Isaac, a back-to-back 100k race, race 1 and 2 here tonight. It should be a bit of an interesting one in terms of strategy.
Yeah, absolutely, Jared. Good evening, everyone. Good evening to everyone that is tuned in for this one. Look, yeah, two 100k races should be pretty interesting. One compulsory pit stop per race, which means we will see cars tour the lane. These laps are going to fly by, just over a minute in lap time. It's not a very long circuit here at Oran Park, and even that 2.6Ks and that 2.6Ks will go past very quickly. 12 corners. Look for some passing opportunities. Down at turn 2 will be number 1. Turn 3 and 4 probably won't go for many overtakes over the bridge, but it can be done into 5, and then either into the last corner at 12 or even setting yourself up out of the last corner to get that run down towards turn 1 and 2. It could be super interesting tonight in where everyone goes for the overtakes. Qualifying will be important though, and I'm sure very soon we will get to see the results of that, Jared, because, well, with the way the championship's shaping up, you need to be at the front of this field if you want to be in the fight for the championship.
And speaking of the way the championship is shaping up, Will Buchanan, after the latest recalculation of drop rounds, has a pretty significant lead at this point. It's well over 100 points at this stage, and it's hard to imagine, bar him missing any rounds between now and the end of the season, that anyone's going to catch him. He's just been too quick time and time again, super consistent all season. I think it's going to be a bit of a runaway for him, but anything can happen between now and the end of the season. Behind him, Mark Point and Troy Stonestreet still in pretty close competition for second and third place, and then another 100 points back to Stephen Varga, who holds a reasonable lead over Ricky Hyde, Brian Borg, and then another big gap back to Brett Horsell. So there's starting to be a few gaps opening up in this championship between little groups of drivers that will be competing. Andrew Hoffman and Trav Daly absolutely locked in it for the Cup Trophy, mind you. Only 6 points the difference after 5 rounds. So that's looking like a very, very close top of the Pops battle in the Cup Trophy class. But the overall is looking very much like it's on track for Will Buchanan to walk away with this season. He's got to make it there first, of course, and nothing is guaranteed when it comes to motorsports. So you never really know what the final 5 rounds will shape up. And Oran Park, of course, it's one of those tracks that can turn up just about everything. Let's go for a bit of a run around here tonight. We have Simon Haynes jumping in the Gard Ford Mustang to take us on our lap around Oran Park as he comes out of the final turn. So let's jump on board and have a look at what this looks like from inside a Gen 3 supercar. And it's a very, very busy track. This is about the only opportunity to have a break is down this main straight. From here on, it's constant balancing of this car on the brake and throttle all the way down to about 70 k's an hour through turn 2 here, which is sure to be a hot spot for collisions tonight. A brief run on the accelerator before you start to balance through what seems like a never-ending set of right-hand turns. A nice little hairpin here, and then we start to head up towards the bridge. The camber is awkward. The gutter on the inside, the curbing is fairly steep. As you come up and over the bridge, you've got to really cut hard to the right, get over the curbing on the right-hand side, then all the way out to the left, over the blind crest and into the right-hander at the start of this flip-flop section. Then back around and an awkward little left-hander going uphill here as well. Then as we come to the crest for the penultimate turn, again, you can't see what's on the other side of this. You've just got to have faith that you're going to hit the curbing on the way through. And then another awkward turn to finish it off. You've got to watch that drop off on the inside as well. That is a lap of Oran Park. It's over before you even blink. And a very, very little reprieve as you come down the main straight. The Gard Mustang soaking it up here tonight. Hopefully the rest of the drivers can manage the same.
Yeah, he's hoping, but it's a very, very tough lap, very quick lap. As we said, it goes by in the blink of an eye, but super challenging, lots of changing of direction. The undulation and the camber of the road across the bridge is going to provide a challenge in these cars, given how unstable they are in the rear end. So looking forward to seeing how the drivers tackle that. And side-by-side battles here tonight. It's not a very wide circuit, as you saw there on the lap that was conducted by Simon Haynes. That's going to provide a bit of difficulty as well, finding room to go side-by-side with other drivers. You want some good racing, but you certainly don't want it to end in chaos. As Matty Morgan touched on, we saw it end in chaos when we were here with MC Motorsport and the Trans Ams a couple of weeks ago, and massive pile up at the bridge. Hopefully we can all avoid that this evening.
Yeah, hoping so, but not placing any bets on it, I'll be honest. It's always a bit of a hot spot. We'll see how it shapes up this time. We go to the grid now. The drivers are getting onto the circuit. I'm not quite sure if we're actually going to get the grid here for some reason. There we go. Does take a moment, but we've got it. Will Buchanan and Troy Stonestreet at the front of the pack. Not a great deal in it, but Buchanan again super, super fast tonight. Stephen Varga and Jason Benson, all quantum row 2. Chris Burridge and Tony Chapman behind them. Then Abel Verben and Nick Geary ahead of Mark Poynton and Phil Manuel. Nick Geary, some serious pace in the Cup Trophy class tonight. We go further back, Jace Douglas and Chad Vigar on row 6, then Brad Hayes and Rick Vigar ahead of Alistair Bales and Darryl Callahan, Andrew Hoffman and Tommy DeWitt behind them, Scotty Perrins and Trav Daly rounding out your top 20, Josh Harris and Ash Hall behind them with Troy Sipple, the last driver to set a time. Brett Horsell and James Hardy will start from the back. Tim Nicol and Todd Martin in race control this evening, and did see the Porsche out there turning some laps during practice as well, so it's got the tyres warmed up. I think there's a pretty good chance we're going to see the safety car out there tonight, although I did notice that Tim Nicol may have written off one of the safety cars at the pit entry, went straight into the tyre bundles, so hopefully they can repair that one. The car was not in good shape at all.
Well, that's not good for it, absolutely. Thankfully, they would have rolled the spare chassis from out of the truck and given that to him. So good news is we'll still have a safety car. That would have been a bit disastrous if we only brought the one chassis to Oran Park. Thankfully, we did not. Just looking, Brett Horsell has gridded up. James Hardy yet to jump on the grid, so there is a potential that he unfortunately may not be featuring this evening, which will be disappointing. But again, as I said, didn't set a lap time in qualifying, so something could be going on there for the Quantum Racing car. Hoffman, Vigar, Douglas and Buchanan, the only other cars left to grid up before we go racing. For race number 1, it's going to feel like, I think this will feel like it's going to fly by. The laps, as we said, are short, and 37 of them, they'll go past in the blink of an eye. That is for certain. 100 Ks of racing. What will happen? Who will come out on top? I think we will probably see a safety car at some stage. You're right, Jared. I'd be very surprised if we didn't.
I do love that we've got a slightly different option here with our broadcast software these days. We can actually go to replays from previous sessions now. This is Tim Nicol in the practice session. Got it very, very wrong.
That is broken.
That it is. I do appreciate, though, being able to cut to some of those and share it with everybody at home. It was a good size hit. So I doubt that Porsche is going to be back in action here tonight. But anyhow, it's good to have options up the sleeve, and options we certainly have. Gridding time is just about up. We are just waiting for confirmation from race control that we're ready to get rolling, and it should be just moments away at this stage. All the drivers gridded up with the exception of James Hardy. We're ready to go racing. Race number 1 lies ahead. The lights are up, the revs come up. We're hoping to see no jump starts here to kick us off. And the green flag is out. We are away and racing, and off we go down towards turn 1. And already you can see side-by-side action, 3 wide as we get down here. They're going to have to sort it out very, very quickly because there's not a lot of room as you get into the braking zone for 2. We're already seeing cars very, very wide. First car off there looks like Chris Burridge, who has ended up off the outside and up the inside. I think that might be, it does look like Andrew Hoffman has found himself off the inside there, but considering how often we see it come together pretty bad. Oh, straight around goes Mark Point. There's contact there. He's just avoided the wall, but he will drop all the way to the end of the field, and Oran Park already starting to strike. Let's see if we do get through cleanly here on the bridge exit. There's a bit of side-by-side action there. It looks like that might have been Chad Vigar and Jace Douglas coming off the bridge, but they've sorted it out without any further incident, and we are underway. It's been almost exactly the start that I expected. Mark Point is back on track, but a long way back, and it continues the tale of woe for his season. It's not the first time that we've seen that happen to him.
No, and that's unfortunate for Mark Point. He is, look, it's disappointing, isn't it? It's, as you said, not the first time. It certainly probably won't be the last for a number of these drivers, and Mark Point, just trouble always seems to befall him. At the worst times, he's really finding his stride in this championship, and a couple of good results in the last few rounds were starting to go his way, and unfortunately, it's just come undone at the start of this race. Good news is he's got, 36 laps now left to fight his way back through this field. He has plenty of pace, and there's another race coming up later on this evening for him to fight back through as well. Drew Buchanan off to a great start, a second ahead of Troy Stone Street already. Jason Bent's trying to stay with Stone Street. Bent's big fan of the Australian circuits. Up the inside goes Trav Daly on Tommy DeWitt. Chris Burridge trying to follow his teammate through. There's a little bit of side-by-side. Thought that was going to end in disaster there for a second. It looked a bit on the edge for Chris Burridge, and that was almost going to be tears with both cars in the wall.
Thankfully managed to hold together. Really, really well responded to there by Burridge with that little bit of a nudge with Tommy DeWitt. Nothing much in it, but it doesn't take much around Oran Park, and you find yourself in some pretty nasty walls. Now, keen-eyed amongst you might notice the popping up of the pit lane there. The pit entry actually gets picked up pretty early here by iRacing, and so with drivers taking advantage of the full width of the track, you're going to see people look like they're heading into the pits, but not actually making their way in there. It's one of the unique and we'll call it kooky features of Oran Park, but it's a little frustrating at times for us here in the booth, because you're never actually quite sure if someone's heading to the pit lane or not until you see them well and truly getting into it.
Oh, here we go, side by side, Burridge and Tommy DeWitt, and Burridge finally gets past, and this is about a lap later, so he's had to work hard for that in the last lap to get it done. But yeah, it's a little bit tricky, this Oran Park circuit. Just have to sort of ignore the little grey out that happens as they come around the final couple of corners and onto the front straight, with how wide they get, as you said, out of that final corner. Look at the curb usage there from Abel Verban, defending from Jace Douglas, who's up into 8th place now. He's second in class though. Nick Geary off to a fantastic start, moved up 3 places to be P5 overall, and that is a brilliant start for him, and some valuable points at the moment over one of his championship rivals. Side by side, Ash Hall, Alistair Bales goes through, and Brett Horsell coming from the back of the grid sizes up a move, not able to get it done on this occasion. Thinks better of it.
Yeah, it really needs to be a lot closer to get it done there into 1 or 2. And this is the nature of Oran Park, isn't it? Once the racing line is pretty well established, it's a really tough one. As Tony Chapman's gotten it a little bit sideways there, I think. He's dropped a few spots, managed to keep it on circuit, and doesn't look like any damage. Although that front left is looking just a little bit worse for wear as a result. It is one of those circuits where it's very hard to manufacture a pass. You've got to really set up a full lap in advance and really pick your timing to perfection to get a pass done here, or force the mistake from the driver in front, which is exactly what Chase Douglas is trying to do with Verban here, and has been doing for the last couple of laps. We've seen a good bit of movement up through the field for Douglas across the last few rounds. Oran Park is going to be one that really does test him. It's going to test all the drivers, really. Even if you are quick around here, it's very hard to get past someone in front. And that's before they're even really trying to contest the position. You see Brett Horsell gets the run down the main straight. He'll pick up the spot here. Ash Hall just lacking a bit of pace out of that final turn, and by the time you get to the other end of the straight, you really can tell the difference from that last turn, the exit speed that you carry out of that. It makes a good couple of car lengths difference, and Brett Horsell goes through into 20th as a result. Out in front, Will Buchanan opening up to 1 3/4 seconds at the moment. Stone Street and Bent's caught in this little battle, but it's not slowing them down. Stephen Varga's 2 seconds behind, and then another 3.5 almost back to Nick Geary, who really is holding everyone up a little bit at the moment. He's the one thing that's standing between perhaps the likes of Abel Verban and Jace Douglas starting to reel in Stephen Varga, but I don't know that it's going to be that straightforward. Let's talk pit strategy for a moment tonight here, Isaac. 37 laps. It's a 50% fuel load to start with the setup here tonight. A maximum of 60%. I did a few numbers working off what we were expecting in terms of fuel usage per lap, and really the pit window should open as we see a drive-through penalty for Chapman for some earlier contact. We'll have to go back and have a look at that one. But the fuel window should be open basically at the end of lap 1. It's a long way to go though on old tyres, so I don't know whether we'll see anyone coming in particularly early. But it could be that we see people think about an undercut here.
Yeah, and the undercut could prove to be a fairly strong strategy tonight, I would think. Clean air, especially at a track like this, is very hard to come by. If you can nail that strategy without getting yourself caught up in lap traffic, you certainly could find yourself in a good position to try and move up the field. This is Josh Harris battling with Burridge at the moment. Burridge right in behind. Harris has moved forward 7 places already in this race. Felt like he was struggling in practice and qualifying. This is a replay of Harris. Has had a bit of an incident here with Trav Daly. He has a bit of a touch up, a half spin. They get that car straightened out and move on. But that has allowed pretty much everybody else behind to catch back up. Trav Daly's back down to 18th after that, so he has lost a handful of positions, and now Josh Harris is the head of this train, and probably from that contact will be carrying a little bit of damage.
Yeah, look, I don't know it'll make a huge amount of difference here in terms of top speed, although that front straight really can test that. I do want to go back and see if we can take a look at the earlier incident with Mark Poynton that actually landed the penalty for Tony Chapman. We might have to go back a little way, mind you. But this was the incident on lap 1. The Chubby Buns replay will pick this up. So just watch Chapman, the pink and black car just ahead of Poynton here. Poynton goes up the inside. Plenty of overlap through the turn, and then well, that's an interesting one. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what Chapman was thinking there, but it's been contacting just the right spot to pit manoeuvre Poynton. And I'll give it points for a very, very clean pit manoeuvre, but it's generally not something the stewards want to see, and rightfully, I think, has been given that drive-through.
Yeah, and the stewards all looked very hard at that and decided that is the appropriate penalty. So he's copped the whack. 5-second penalty for car, I'm assuming that's for car 777, it wouldn't be for car 77. Correct. So Trav Daly getting a 5-second penalty for that incident with Josh Harris, which will be added to his time post-race. So the difference, Tony Chapman has to serve that penalty in the race, which is now put him down to the back of the field, whereas Trav Daly will get that added to his time post-race, which means that wherever he finishes, you're going to add 5 seconds to that time. Fairly straightforward stuff. This is Nick Geary leading Abel Verban, Jace Douglas and Chad Vigar, so the back end of the top 10. Interesting to keep in mind, Jared, as well. I went back and checked my notes from this broadcast coming in. It is a reverse top 10 for race number 2, which means however these guys finish inside the top 10 in race number 1, they'll flip that. At the moment, Brad Hayes is on provisional pole for race number 2. Still a long way to go in this race, so anything could happen, but that is where you need to be looking for who's going to be at the front of this field, the very front of this field, come race number 2.
Yeah, something to keep an eye on. I must admit I didn't note that in the race briefing, and so I'd assumed that, a bit of a moment there for Nick Geary. Gets very, very loose coming across the bridge, manages to hang on to it, and not really anywhere that Verban could have capitalised on that this time around, but it will bring them all a little bit closer. Let's see how it goes from here, I suppose. Yeah, new paint job for Abel Verban, absolutely is, and look, it's a little more composed, a little less chaotic than his usual paint job that we've seen throughout the rest of the season. But looks like a new sponsor on board, perhaps, I think it's BDH on the doors. By the look of things. Rick Vigar finds himself just outside the 10. He'll be trying to find his way in there and take advantage of that reverse grid. Just ahead, Brad Hayes, incidentally, joined Accelerated Sim Racing during the week, so a new paint job for him as well tonight as he jumps on board with that team.
Very
and
nice.
the only
nice.
Accelerated drive we've got, there's contact there with Verban.
Off the road.
Just barely manages to hang on to it. A little bit of a moment there. I wonder if that had anything to do with
I was just
the contact.
thinking.
Just a little bit of a flicker. Chad Vigar continues on. Not a lot in it. And yeah, looks reasonably clean, but I suppose the stewards will look at it if it does get called in there. Further back, Brett Horsell and Alistair Bales still going at it here. Horsell's moved up another couple of spots since we last checked in with him, but continues to find it difficult to move forward. And indeed, tonight is one of those nights where we don't see, generally speaking, a huge number of places picked up here at Oran Park. The biggest mover so far, Troy Sipple up 7 places into 16.
And
Josh Harris up 7 into 14th. So really not a huge number of places being picked up anywhere, and it's, like we said, not surprising at all.
No, it's a very difficult track to get a pass done. There is, as we touched on earlier, a couple of spots you can get it done here. If you really are trying to look for the move, this is not one of them. Turn 4 is a very difficult place to get a pass done. You have to be very committed under brakes. Keep an eye on the activity in the pit lane. Trav Daly has come in, spent about 15 seconds in the box, and then moved on once again. So he has served his pit stop, possibly a little bit of damage repair, judging by the fact that he was stopped there for 15 seconds as well. So getting that out of the way, making sure that car is as quick as possible for the back end of this race, and hopefully with large amount of clean air that he just in behind Will Buchanan now, so he's actually going to lap down, but the clean air that he will have and the ability to try and keep up with Will Buchanan should open the door for him to try and make some places up before the end of this one.
Douglas had a big look up his side.
Contact.
There's contact, yep, was always going to happen. Douglas diving very, very late under brakes there and drops back in behind. But he's clearly keen to keep moving. He's going to have to be careful, though. There's not a lot of room for error doing that sort of thing around here, and does really risk turning Geary. In the background, Chad Vigar right up behind him as well. So these three, it's the battle to watch at the moment, just at the back end of the top five. Geary's been holding this position for a while. He's got a big slide happening there, holds on to it. That was about the same spot that he had the issue just a lap or two ago as well. So he's obviously just trying to find the balance with the car at the moment through that section of track, and it is a really, really tough section to get through. But hangs in there. Jace Douglas will be starting to get impatient, I reckon, from what we've seen of him so far. He can see the errors happening here, and the fact that he's not been able to capitalise it, I think, will be getting under his skin a little bit. He's going to have a run down here. It shows the nose, has a look, tucks back in. Are we going to see another move here? Surely. On the brakes, just a little fraction ahead of Geary. Not there in time to actually make the move. It closes right in under that rear bar, and it does a fantastic job of showing off the sponsors for Full Leap Juiced Racing.
This is the hard thing. I was going to say, this is the hard thing with Jace Douglas. We see him time and time again. He has the pace, especially on the brakes. He's such a good operator of the car off the road. Goes Troy Sipple, and he'll lose some spots. So that's an interesting one. Maybe he was given a helping hand there.
What's happened to Poynton?
Mark Poynton's missing that front bar. So something has happened at some stage for Poynton.
Is that just from that earlier incident?
That possibly could be. We'll have to keep an eye on that and whether that has come as a result of some earlier incidents. He is going to go past, just side by side actually with Scotty Perrins, and moves ahead of Scotty Perrins. But Jace Douglas, look, he is a very good operator, especially on the brakes. He's so strong, but it's just he has to have the patience, and we've seen time and time again, he's had the pace to get past. He is very good at sizing up his opponents and seeing where they are vulnerable to be overtaken, but he just, so on occasion, lacks a little bit of that patience that he needs just to bide his time and really wait for a sole window of opportunity. He tries to rush the pass and get it done because he knows he has the pace in that car, and he can go quicker, and he knows he can go quicker. He just wants to be there, and that does lead to, unfortunately for him, a couple of mistakes that in the past have brought him, on the wrong side of the steward's room, and also have affected his races as well. So a little bit of patience here, just waiting for Geary to make a mistake or just get a run off a corner that's not quite what he needs it to be, so that Douglas can go past. And that final corner, he is very strong off the corner, and then again into 1 and 2 under braking. He can size that up as long as he gets close enough through this bit to nail that final turn.
Yeah, this is where Douglas really needs to play it smart, give himself plenty of room to have that mid-corner pace and still come out at full noise. He's done a reasonable job of it there as he swings very, very wide. Geary's going to sacrifice a little bit of speed running to the middle of the track. Douglas will close right in. I don't know if he's going to be quite close enough. You see him get on the brakes pretty early there. He's thinking about a look up the inside, but just not close enough at the moment. And I think it's something he's just got to accept for the moment. He needs to stay close enough to take advantage of the mistakes, but he's not going to make a pass happen around this place. A 5-second penalty for Chad Vigar. That's for contact with Abel Verban. And that's I'm not surprised to see that come through. There wasn't a lot in it, but it was certainly enough to put Verban a fair way back through the field. So, or at least a few seconds back from this group, which is, what you want to avoid is picking up penalties for those sort of contact.
Yeah, you certainly don't want to get penalties for those things, because again, those are just the little things that can bring a race undone, especially contact like that. It may not feel like a lot, or it may not feel like it was really that big a deal, but for the stewards, they can give you a penalty, and that can be the difference between a top 10 finish and dropping out of the 10, especially in a situation like some of these guys are battling at the moment. They could lose 3 or 4 positions just from a 5-second penalty with how close this field is. Rick Vigar going defensive. Burridge looks to the inside, not close enough. This time by, thought better of it, backed out of the move. He did have the inside line. Someone's off the road here with the amount of dust kicked up. And I don't see anyone there anymore.
I think that was Nick Geary. I think that might have been Nick Geary.
It possibly could have been. He has lost a fair number of positions there. So he's back down to 9th ahead of this group. But it was just a lot of dust that I felt like someone may have still been there. This is Nick Geary. So Jace Douglas in behind once again. Does he get a helping hand? No.
Through one. That's all it takes.
That's the mistake that Jace Douglas was waiting for. So the pressure from behind has finally started to arrive, and Nick Geary, seeing that the J-Mart Camaro was not going anywhere anytime soon, got it a little bit wrong into turn 1, and only a little bit wrong is enough, especially when you get caught on that grass.
Absolutely right. Down the front straight we go. Oh, Vigar into the pits. Almost gets hammered on the way in. Chris Burridge reacted brilliantly to that, and this is one of the more dangerous pit lane entries for exactly that reason. The racing line is right there, and it's one of the few times that you kind of wish the cars had indicators or something like that, because there's absolutely no time to react. That was very, very close, and a brilliant bit of driving for Vigar to survive that, honestly.
Yeah, it was a fantastic piece of driving, and that's the other thing we're going to have to keep a close eye on. We're looking at this battle now on screen, DeWitt, Bales, Horsell. As soon as one of these guys dive in, especially if it's DeWitt and the other two want to continue on, if they're not quick enough, they could run up the back of Tommy DeWitt and cause a huge accident on the run into the pit lane. So you have to be aware, you have to be switched on, especially getting to this point of the race. Pit stops will start to become a thing people think about. Jace Douglas is in the pit lane, and everyone else in the foreground moving ahead. So he's decided enough is enough. It's time to come in for his stop. Noble Verban's pushed on and still out there. At the moment, Will Buchanan 4 seconds clear of Jason Bentz, who is another 1.5 clear. Troy Stonestreet, this is that overboard shot, and this will just tell the story of how quickly Burridge reacted here. And watch this, he dives into the lane on the brakes. I don't think you can get any closer to the rear bumper of Rick Vigar without causing a major accident. That was by the skin of his teeth.
Yeah, you love to see it though, right? It's one of the fun things. One of the fun things about this circuit is you're never quite sure what to expect at that pit entry and whether you're going to get a massive incident or not. I mean, not great for the drivers involved, obviously, but for us here in the booth, it keeps us on the edge of our seats, keeps the heart rate up every time we come around. A few drivers starting to come in for those stops at the moment. Jace Douglas has been through. Trav Daly went through very, very early on. As we see a couple more peel off in Vigar, Manuel. Darryl Callahan's going to come in behind as well. Tony Chapman just on the way out of the pits in front of screen as Verban comes past. Will Buchanan out in front. The lead not huge at this point. Only about 4.3 he's holding at the moment. But it's more than enough around this circuit. And that's really all he needs to do. If he can just maintain that gap, doesn't have to push the car particularly hard to do so. It means that he might be able to save just a little bit of fuel and just extend the time before he does need to come into the pits. We did do some numbers on what you'd have up the sleeve here from the starting fuel. It was somewhere around, if memory serves, I think about 25 laps out of the 37, maybe 26 that you'd get around here. I suppose it depends on individual driver usage, of course. But as we see Buchanan now starting to just lap some of the drivers that are coming out from their pit stops, and because it is such a short lap, that happens a fair bit here, and so it does get a little bit messy on the tower until everyone has been through.
Yeah, and we've just got to try and keep up now with who has stopped. I can tell you the first car in this field to have stopped at the moment is Phil Manuel and Jace Douglas, who are battling away for position. So 12th and 13th are your lead cars right now. You can see them in the foreground here actually battling away, and Will Buchanan's catching them. So if I'm Will Buchanan, I'm thinking about possibly coming in this lap even to just allow to not have to try and navigate this traffic that is in front of me. It's just Troy Stonestreet and Jason Bence battling for position as well. And Troy Stonestreet's lifted in the last lap or so. He was well out, almost at 2 seconds behind Bence, but now it has closed right into well within a second. And Will Buchanan is into the lane. So as predicted, he's getting out of that traffic, trying to stay out of the way. Bence is going to come in. Troy Stonestreet's going to follow him. So the front three all into pits for their stop now. Tommy DeWitt heading back out. And you can see in the fast lane. And they have to stay in that fast lane. The rule at ASR, no more than 5 pit bays before their... Well, they can't swing out of the fast lane, sorry, more than 5 pit bays before their booth. So they have to stay essentially in the fast lane for as long as possible.
We see another car off, and we're just waiting to see. That is one of the Angry Birds drivers. And
Jace Douglas.
What has happened for Jace Douglas? That's a meatball. I don't know if he's going to get that car moving again. I think he's done, and I think this could be a safety car. I don't know what's happened to Douglas there, but he's done a massive amount of damage to that car. And I've got no doubt we're going to see people absolutely diving into the pits now if they haven't already done so. It's the perfect opportunity to do it.
It's a huge hit somewhere.
I did incidentally recheck my numbers on the fuel. It should be about 30 laps you'll actually get out of the starting fuel. So you're still a fair way off needing to come in. But the halfway point, probably not an awful place to think about changing tyres over, as Callahan looks up the inside of Brad Hayes. They're going to end up side by side here. Hayes is going to have the advantage coming out of the turn and holds on to that for the moment.
Tint is rolling.
Yeah, look, he is in the pits. He is on his way out of the pits, and we do indeed have a safety car called.
Yeah, so the field will start to enable Verban's actually dive straight in. So Brett Horsell will do the same. That's the last 2 cars in the field to pit. So they're the only 2 that really get to pit under the safety car and get the... I don't know if there really isn't much of an advantage. This is Jace Douglas, so he has Phil Manuel in front of him. So keep an eye on Phil as they come into turn 1. Very, very wide there, and gets it on the grass, all crossed up. And I think that was just a little bit of a mistake. And then here, on the dirt again, gets the dirty side of a massive hit into the tyre barrier. So go on the dirty side of the road. The number of cars actually off the road there, sand and gravel had been dragged onto the circuit, which had created a bit of a slippery surface, really. And as a result, as they all pile up behind the safety car, he just got on that part of the road, put the foot to the floor, as you do in these supercars, and has spat him across to the other side of the road, where he has unfortunately met our good friend Barry R and hit the tyre barriers quite heavily. We'll get the onboard now. This will tell the story even more so.
Yeah, and it wasn't much, but geez, he ended up that excursion there just put him off his line a bit. And I wonder if maybe a little bit of debris on the outside here just caused him. There's the little slide, and bang, he almost cleared those tyres, but in the end, heavy contact. And we saw the amount of damage to that car. He was not going to get that rolling again.
Well, he's immediately tried to. He's fired it up to try and get the car rolling, and then I think as soon as he started putting foot to the floor, he's realised there is very little opportunity for this car to go anywhere, and he's parked it and requested a tow.
That left side axle was completely destroyed.
Absolutely. It was going nowhere, wasn't it? So unfortunately for Jace Douglas, a very strong performance this evening will be put on hold for the remainder of this race, and he will need to try and bounce back in race number 2. He is in the pit lane, has been so for about a minute and a half now. So we'll go a couple of laps down here, which is frustrating. Vigar and Sipple are the only other cars that are down laps at this stage, and we could see them get those laps back here. And there we go, as Vigar pulls out and gets his lap back, and Sips, I'm sure, will not be too far behind to get his lap back and push on. And that means that all cars except for Douglas, who is still in the pit lane getting that damage repaired, will be back on the lead lap.
And on that note, we've seen absolutely everybody in the field come through the pits now, so there won't be Maybe anyone looking to get back out there. I think the person who'll be most disappointed with the safety car is probably Trav Daly. He was obviously going for an undercut strategy by coming in on lap 8. And this safety car has really just put a stop to that at this stage. He finds himself stuck in 10th. He's up 10 spots, so it was paying off well for him. But this safety car period really undoes the advantage, and now he's going to have to fight his way through. It's going to be a bit of an effort from here to get much further forward, but if he can hold on to 10th, then that'll look pretty good for race 2 in that reverse grid.
It absolutely will. And look, he's still up 10 spots when we started. Brett also up 10 spots. Josh Harris up 9 into 12th. So those guys performing very well at a circuit that is notoriously difficult to get a move done, to get a pass done. That's fantastic stuff. Darryl Callahan up 8 spots. Brad Hayes up 6 on his debut for Accelerate Sim Racing. The only Accelerate Sim Racing car out there, as you touched on earlier, Jared, and he's doing the team proud at the moment with where he sits in this queue. And Will Buchanan, look, he's championship leader, and so far this evening he's shown exactly why. Jason Bentz now has an opportunity to try and go with him here and chase after him on this safety car restart, but Buchanan has looked quick tonight and pretty much untouchable.
Yeah, he has indeed, as we see all the cars rolling through, and the safety car coming in this lap as he starts to pull away. Tim Nicol gets an opportunity to put the foot to the floor. Hopefully he does a little bit better on the pit entry this time around than we saw in practice.
That would be awkward, wouldn't it?
That would be a little bit awkward, but, you know, no pressure, Tim. I'm sure he is... he's going to be very, very careful on the way back in to the pits on this one. Question is, what does Buchanan do here? I mean, you'd have to think he's going to try and make a jump and get away from Bentz as quickly as he possibly can. But you'd have to think so, wouldn't you?
It's at his discretion as to when he goes from about now. So we'll wait to see exactly when he hits that pedal. He is waiting. Still waiting. He's making him wait a long time here, so he's not going early. He's gone. There we go. So he has found the pedal, and he's gone a little bit later than we expected, but we have a safety car restart and about 14 laps to go in this one. Will Buchanan, can he pull away once again, or can Bentz stay with him? He's looking aggressive early to the outside. He's going to go the long way around. He's got it on the side. Sideways for Bentz as he put it on the slide through turn 2, and that has cost him, unfortunately, track position and ground that he made up under brakes on Will Buchanan, but it was a very aggressive move from Bentz. He had to do something to try and upset the man that has looked in control of this race so far, and unfortunately for Bentz, it has backfired at this stage. He's still within half a second, but Will Buchanan, with a little bit of fresh air, can breathe now as they get through lap 1 of this restart fairly cleanly so far. Josh Harris battling with a repaired Mark Poynton, desperate to get back inside this 10 before the race is over.
Only a few spots outside of it. Geez, wouldn't that be a great way to turn around for race number 2? It's been a rough season for Poynton. I'm sure I recall at least 2 other races where he's found himself out of contention in race 1 and having to fight back through it, and he usually does a pretty good job of it, but Oran Park is one of the toughest spots you can imagine to try and make that happen. He's certainly got a run here on Josh Harris. He'll look to the inside as they come down towards turn 1. I don't know if he's quite going to get there, but he's going to put the nose all the way out there and show his intention in the end, having to back out of it just a little bit earlier. But he'll keep an eye on this and keep pushing on. Again, it's one of those tracks where you have to set up for these passes a full lap in advance, and I expect that he'll probably stay with Harris right throughout this lap and have another crack at it next time around. Further up in the field, Stone Street, Varga, Phil Manuel, Nick Geary, all still involved in their own little battles at the moment, while out in front, Buchanan and Bentz are starting to pull away, putting up over a second already on Stone Street. And the pace from Buchanan just not quite as evident here at Oran Park, and I think it's just the track layout not really allowing him to demonstrate that full pace that we've seen from him in some of the other rounds. But even so, he's still well and truly in control out in front. Bent's doing a great job of going with him, and they're still pulling away, mind you, so there's plenty of pace between the pair of them. But Buchanan not dominating quite as much as he might have hoped to.
Well, it certainly was before the safety car. Poynton pulls out, shows the nose, lets Josh Harris know that he is there. Josh Harris running some new cameras for us this evening as well, I'm sure, which we will hopefully get to check out at some point throughout the evening. But he is very busy defending from my point at the moment. Alistair Bales in P20. This is side-by-side up the inside, so Point now goes for the move on Harris. There's a penalty coming the way of car 99. A drive-through penalty for car 99, which is Jace Douglas, who's actually still in the lane with that meatball. Through goes Mark Poynton on Harris, gets that move done in a very aggressive way through turn 3 and 4. Had to link it together, but got there in the end. Harris put up a fight, was not able to make it work. Douglas, that meatball is now conveniently finally cleared and will move up a position into, well, it's not moving up, so he's back out on circuit, 5 laps down, has to serve a drive-through as well. I didn't catch which car he had contact with to get a drive.
That was with Chad Vigar.
There you go.
On lap 19, so I don't know if there was some other contacts just prior to that accident or something like that. I mean, Vigar looks to be in pretty good shape, although he has been through the pits, so might have had some work done as he gets up alongside and almost touches. Might have been just the slightest of nudges there with Bales. A big lock-up of the brakes. Bales is going to try and get back under him, but just a little bit too late into the corner for him to respond. And Vigar picks up another spot for his tally. Out in front, Buchanan and Bence continue this battle, though Bence starting to fall away now. Buchanan's consistency really comes into it.
Yeah, consistency is key for these guys, and Wood Buchanan, consistency has been his motto all season. Time and time again, continues to perform. Chad Vigar at the back of this field, battling with Ash Hall and Troy Sipple. These guys, the 22nd and 23rd, got their laps back not that long ago, and was as a result of being under the control of the safety car. Burridge, Callahan, and Trav Daly actually the last in the 10. I don't know what is going on in the lane there for Jace Douglas, but he is touring the lane to serve that drive-through now. And we're on board with Josh Harris, and there is foot cam. So if you are a big fan of Josh Harris, you're getting some free content here with the foot cam that we have. You can see the boots on, just how hard he's working. I'm actually very disappointed he's not heeling and towing here. He is using 2 feet to drive this car. He is using a shifter, a supercar style shifter, but I was really hoping for the full supercar experience with the heel and toe.
I just want to see the old 3-foot shot coming into it, mate. It's a lot of work. Like even being able to do left foot brake these cars here on iRacing, particularly pay attention to just how much work he's having to do balancing the throttle and flicking back and forth between braking and throttle just to get around this track. It's a constant fight. The wheel work, it just continues the whole way around. You're constantly adjusting, constantly driving the car and turning the rear end with the throttle. And here he finally gets the brake, gets to put the foot down and just enjoy a run down the straight here at full noise. But it is a lot of work to turn 37 laps here in a supercar, and then to back up and do it again for race 2 is going to be exhausting for these guys.
Super exhausting. I'm exhausted just thinking about it, I'll be honest. That is, it's going to be a long evening. 200k races. 100k's doesn't sound like a lot in the grand scheme of things in a supercar race, but it can feel like a very long time, especially when you have 2 of them you have to link together. Chad Vigar, what has happened here?
Just after he got past
6 car.
Alistair Bales just overcooked a little bit on the brakes. Big slide out to the marbles, and that's how he's lost the couple of positions and found himself in between the 2 quantum cars. Not long after that, Ash Hall has had a bit of a moment as well with Chubby Buns replay. So this is almost the identical spot a lap later, and actually a little bit of a nudge there from Vigar. I would not be surprised to see a penalty coming through, as you see Jace Douglas still looking a bit sad and sorry for himself with the condition of that car. And I think he was just keen to get back out on circuit and keep going, but doesn't look to be in the best shape. This shape, though, is that of a good battle. Verban locks the inside tyre and barges his way through past Chris Burridge. And a little bit of contact there as they just jostle for position. Mark Poynton will be watching that carefully. He'll want to pick up a couple of spots here, but he also does not want to get involved in another incident. He finds himself on the inside, so he's going to make his way past Abel Verban relatively comfortably, as we see a fair bit of dust kicked up by someone going off just ahead. I think it might have been Nick Geary, I think. But in any case, this lineup of cars behind Trav Daly is starting to just compress a bit as we enter into the final stages of this race. There's not a lot of time left in this one. 7 laps sounds like a long way to go, but when you're talking only a minute and change per lap, it'll be over before you know it. And right now, Mark Poynton is just teetering on the edge of being able to take advantage of the reverse grid. He's got one more spot to try and make up here in the next few laps.
Yeah, and he very well could do it. Burridge is very interested in trying to get past Geary in the foreground, and wide a little bit there for, no, it looks okay. There's a bit of grass kicked up for someone as they went through turn 1, and I thought it looked a bit wide. A 10-second time penalty for Chad Vigar as a result of that contact with Ash Hall. So that is the whack from the stewards we expected. To coming up the inside goes Burridge. He's run wide though. Geary tries to drive back underneath him, but not able to make that the switchback pay off there. He has to settle in behind, and now will find himself vulnerable to Mark Poynton and potentially could drop out of the 10 here. So the man that was in 5th place at one stage in this race has unfortunately moved backwards and is 4th in class after leading his class very early on in this race. And that's the thing, 32 laps, 37 laps even, can change a story very, very quickly from lap 5 all the way down to lap 32. Very, very different sides of the story, and now the teammates are going to battle it out for the last spot in the 10.
I saw Mark Poynton getting very, very wiggly on the way out of that last turn, trying to get the power down very early and just struggling to keep the car straight. It's going to cost him a little bit of pace, but he really does need to push on here, and that 10th spot is going to come at the cost of his teammate in Nick Geary. So it might actually mean that Poynton doesn't push quite as hard here, because the last thing you want to do is take your teammate out, especially when they're sitting on the cusp of this here. We've got a big issue in the background. That's Tony Chapman, Scott Perrins, and I think Rick Vigar caught up in it as well. They all try and get spun around, and Jace Douglas rolls on through. Don't know what's happened there, but we'll go back and take a look at it in just a moment. Keep our eyes on this battle here. I don't know if Poynton's going to be close enough to make a move anytime soon, but he's very, very quickly running out of time. Let's see what's happened. The Chubby Buns replay, as always, will bring this to us. Rick Vigar was at the head of the pack, Tony Chapman behind. And there's a bit of contact. Okay, so Vigar goes into Perrins, who unfortunately just clips Chapman's rear quarter on the way through. And then all they can do is sit and wait. So it's been a bit of an awkward one. But every chance that Vigar's going to find himself with a small penalty for that, I imagine.
That would make the father and son duo both copping penalties for incidents at the same corner, for relatively similar incidents as well in the initial stages. Just a little light touch of the rear right-hand corner of the car in front of a Quantum car, and unfortunately that has netted one Vigar penalty already in Chad Vigar, and Rick Vigar could find himself with one very, very shortly once the stewards have had a look at that. Nick Geary still defending from his teammate. He's actually backed off a little bit in the foreground. Daly and Callahan, Burridge and Callahan, so it's still the two teammates. There's 3 M1 racing cars all in a row, Daly, Callahan and Burridge, which is fantastic to get 3 cars in the 10 for these guys, but they're going to have a little bit of a team battle as well. So it's a bit of team-on-team action, and M1 Racing battling it out for positions in the 10, and Frogleaf Juice Racing battling it out for the last spot in the 10. So fantastic stuff happening right now. Look at Nick Geary. He's actually closed right up on this battle as well. So Cal Callahan, looking behind and not forwards, is driving a little bit slower than I think he would like. As a result, everyone behind that is starting to close up, and we have a nice little battle pack forming in the closing stages.
That we do. I wonder if there's a bit of an inside joke, or a bit of a cheeky poke in the ribs going on in the chat there. Does XSR stand for Extra Shadow Racing? Look, if it's a genuine question, it accelerates in racing, but I feel like there might be a little bit of something underneath that one. Anyhow, we will keep a close eye on what's going on here. Out in front, Will Buchanan has continued to grow that lead. Bent has really just lost the pace over the last few laps, and it's opened up more and more of a gap down to almost 3 seconds now. In fact, Bent's going off the track there. That's going to cost him a lot of time. And here comes Stone Street. So all of a sudden, Bent's is going to be under pressure for the last few laps of this race. He had it all sewn up. He was holding a good 3 seconds over Stone Street there. But just like that, he's overshot turn 2. Happens so often, unfortunately. And Vigar has copped a black flag, and that has been a drive-through from race control. And there it is, drive-through penalty for the contact with Perrins. So they've assessed that one as fairly significant.
That is interesting to note from race control that is a drive-through penalty. So he will not be too happy about it, but he's got it out of the way straight away. So he's not mucking around. He's straight into the lane to serve that drive-through, and there's a fairly long pit lane when you think about in the grand scheme of things here at Oran Park. You do spend a fair amount of time travelling down that lane. Nick Geary is still holding on to 10th position from his teammate, but we have only a couple of laps to go. Lap 36, the cut everyone is now on, which means that we are not far away from a conclusion here, and sitting at the pit exits looks like Rick Vigar as he just waits for the train to go through. So that's smart, actually, letting this train go through. He knows he's going to be a lap down, so there's no point trying to just come out and be inserted into these battles and be a bit of a mobile chicane, if you will, trying to get out of the way. Just wait for them all to go past, and that's very smart driving.
Yeah, it just makes sense, doesn't it? You don't want to get caught up in it, and you make no friends inserting yourself in the middle of a pack that's battling it out for position so late in the race. Brad Hayes sitting in 6th at the moment, ahead of Trav Daly, who's up 13 spots, the biggest mover for this first race. Not too far off that. Brett Horsell's up 10 as well. But Hayes will look to fairly comfortably hold on to this one, I'd say, as we start the final lap now. This is where most of the action has been for the last few laps, right around P10, as it so often tends to be. I'm sure this is a self-fulfilling prophecy of some sort. But Nick Geary and Mark Poynton in 10th and 11th, both trying everything they've got to throw this on. Look at this, a big move from Nick Geary. He thinks he can take Chris Burridge here, gets alongside out of 2. This is going to be a bit of a drag race. I think Burridge is going to have the better line and the better pace, but that might open the door for Poynton. Geary's got to be really, really careful here. He doesn't want to give up the advantage that he's got. And he slots back in behind. I don't think he's going to get another opportunity before we do get to the end of this race. Out in front, oh, he's got a bit of a moment there. That might actually cost him a spot if he's not careful to Poynton as well.
Would cost him the spot. Poynton is really just close in behind, but he's looking to Burridge, but across the line comes Will Buchanan, and 6 seconds clear of Jason Bentz. So a fairly dominant victory in race number 1. Bentz will hold on over Stone Street to come home 2nd and 3rd for those two. Varga in 4th.
Massive dive for Geary.
Huge dive.
They're both going to go through.
Side by side. They've both gone through, so both the juiced front leg cars will go through. It's a drag race to the line between Poynton and Burridge, but Poynton gets there. The question will be how race control view that. A bit of a bump and run out of the final corner for Geary. Very deep under brakes, and whether that gets a whack from the stewards or not, we'll have to wait and see. There's a car stopped just after the line. I believe that is Burridge that stopped, and that was a very, very late move into the final corner that opened the door for both front-lip juiced cars to go on through. Both got into the 10, so they will get the advantage of locking out that front row, but the result, a bit of a question mark for me there as to whether the stewards have anything to say about that move from Geary.
Yeah, it was a. I mean, you've got to send it, right? You've got to do something at that late stage of the race to try and pick out a spot. And whether it was intentional or not, what it means is that both of the Frog Leap Juice Racing entries will be at the front of that reverse top 10, which, regardless of what the stewards think, can't be changed, with the exception of perhaps a pit lane start being issued. So we'll keep a close eye on that from the stewards. As it stands, though, Will Buchanan an easy win, almost 7 seconds ahead of Jason Bentz. Then Stone Street and Varga behind them. A bit of a gap back to Phil Manuel, who managed to keep his nose pretty clean all night, really. Finished with plenty of room in front of him and plenty of room behind to Brad Hayes. And then look at the Cup Trophy drivers coming through. Brad Hayes, Trav Daly, Darryl Callahan, And of course, Nick Geary sneaking on in there and bringing his teammate Mark Poynton with him into the 10. Chris Burridge just barely outside of the top 10 in the end. Nothing to split the 3 drivers there. In fact, it was, some quick maths. What's that? 0.32 between Geary and Burridge, with Poynton sandwiched in the middle, so nothing at all at the line. Behind them, Abel Verban, Josh Harris, then Brett Horsell, Andrew Hoffman, the next Cup Trophy driver ahead of Alistair Bales, with Chad Vigar and Tommy DeWitt. Then Troy Sipple and Tony Chapman rounding out the top 20. Behind them, Scott Perrins, the last driver to finish on the lead lap, which is honestly a pretty good showing from this field. It's so easy to finish a lap down on such a short circuit. Ash Hall and Rick Vigar only 1 lap down. Jace Douglas 6 down. James Hardy not starting that race. So a pretty eventful opening race, not surprising. The question is, what do we get in race 2 here? What's the prediction, Isaac? Do you think we're going to see a bit of calm and a bit more of a careful approach, or we're going to pick up right where we left off?
This is ASR, Jared. That's such a silly question. I think chaos is the word that we use to describe race number 2 here at ASR. It's not a silly question, but I think we see a more sedated performance in race number 1 from all of our drivers at ASR, and then race number 2, the gloves well and truly come off. Everyone knows the limits, and it can get messy pretty quick. So what happens here? Have to wait and see. I think we are very, very likely to see a safety car in this race. This is the replay. So side by side through turn 11, or turn 10 and 11, actually into 12. So look at Geary, drops in behind. Burridge moves across, a very late diving move from Geary alongside. Not really going to make the corner there, but Burridge held his line, and it results in side-to-side contact, which opened the door for Poynton to go through. And then you can see Burridge desperately trying to come back at Poynton there towards the line, but he just was not able to get it done. And look, that's a tricky one. The stewards will have a good look at that, a good think, and see if there is anything that they feel has been done wrong there. But look, he was deep under brakes, but he was alongside into the corner.
Yeah, it's a contentious one. I don't know if I'd call that alongside into the corner. I suppose technically speaking, he was there, but I don't know that you could ever expect to make the turn braking that late. He probably misjudged it ever so slightly, really. And it's a matter of, a tenth of a second earlier on the brakes, and he probably would have pulled it up in time to not understeer there, and in time to actually make the corner and pick up the spot. In saying that, regardless of the stewards' outcome, it's brought both of the Frog Bit Juice racing cars through into the top 10, and so the outcome for at least one of them is going to be really, really significant. It's a bit unfortunate, of course, for Chris Burridge if he just misses out on the top 10 and as a result starts in 11th with a reverse grid. But that's set by iRacing. Unfortunately, there's no way for the stewards to alter that mid-session here, and so that will stand regardless of whatever penalty may or may not be assessed there.
Yeah, that's the tricky thing, that there could be a post-race penalty given to Nick Geary. As I said, it's not going to change the result of where everyone starts for race number 1. So Chris Burridge will feel frustrated because he's missed out on a front row start here. When that was a very key opportunity for him to get that and to start at the pointy end of this field. So frustrating for Chris Burridge, but it is a long race. 37 laps, so plenty of opportunity for him to try and move forward, and I'm sure there's going to be no shortage of incidents here that will help him move forward in this race with the reverse grid. They always provide something extra.
Yeah, absolutely. Every time we're going to see fireworks of some sort. The question will it be lap 1, or will it be maybe a couple laps later? We've managed to get away without any real issues on the bridge so far. But we'll see how it goes. So this is how they'll stack up to grid here. Mark Poynton and Nick Geary will take the front row ahead of Callahan and Daly. Brad Hayes and Phil Manuel swap positions in the middle of the pack. Then Stephen Varga and Troy Stonestreet ahead of Jason Bentz, with Will Buchanan rounding out the reversed top 10. The rest of the grid will start as they finished in race number 1. Chris Burridge in 11th with Abel Verban alongside. Josh Harris and Brett Horsell behind them. Then Hoffman and Bales ahead of Vigar and DeWitt. Troy Sipple and Tony Chapman, I'm pretty sure right where they were in the opening race. No, sorry, a few spots up for Sipple there. Perrins and Hall, 21st and 22nd. Then Vigar and Jace Douglas. I don't imagine we'll see James Hardy starting this race, but you never know. You never know. Tim Nicol and Todd Martin probably, I would hazard a guess, probably going to be out on track again at some point in this second race.
It's very likely we'll see him back out there, and the light's coming up, so we're not too far away from a start, Jared.
All right, revs come up. Race 2 is underway, and a great start at the back of the field for Jace Douglas as he gets rolling very, very quickly.
Wow.
He's looking to make up spots right from the start. The two Frog League Juice cars line it up on the way into turn 1. All of the action, though, just behind, as we see. Look at Will Buchanan already starting to move up through the field. 2 spots by turn 2. Absolutely flew off the line. And he is right there alongside Steve Varga, but on the inside should get this spot, and indeed might even pick up an extra one if he's lucky. Although it does look like Hayes is going to cut that off relatively quickly. A few moves in the background. Jace Douglas looks like he's had a bit of a moment there somewhere, or it may have just been the accordion effect coming through the turn. Chad Vigar is side by side with Brett Horsell as they come off the bridge. So lucky not to have any further issues there, although Horsell's had a really poor entry into that corner. That's going to bring him back into the clutches of Tony Chapman behind. Out in front, though, the two Frog Leap Juice cars are absolutely starting to walk away. Phil Manuel going with them, and the gap really opening up to Darryl Callahan in 4th.
Yeah, it's starting to... Well, it's a great start for these two Juice Frog Leap cars. Oh, around, that's issues for Stephen Varga. He was slow. Tommy DeWitt looks like he was also a part of that. Actually, no, Tommy DeWitt hasn't actually lost any places, but Steve Varga definitely something that's gone on for him. And Bence in the background has also lost a handful of spots, so he's down 4 off the start, battling with Abel Verban in 12th place. Chris Burridge, unfortunately, not moved up any spots. Chad Vigar's up 7, 8 spots now as he goes past Josh Harris. He's on a charge in this second race to try and move forward in the field. It's all happening in the back of the pack here, isn't it? We've got side-by-side action with Bales and DeWitt. DeWitt defending around the outside, but Bales gets that move done. And now Varga and Rick Vigar. So Varga and Vigar, just to make life easy for us, isn't it? Going side-by-side. And as is Burridge and Harris. Harris, position 10 for him. A good start, up 3 spots towards the back end of the top 10. Burridge desperate to make up for lost time and get back into the 10. But he probably feels he should have been at the end of race number 1. Bence with some work to do here, going backwards off the start, needs to move forward in this race to keep this championship alive. Pointing from Geary, from Manuel, from Callahan, Daly, Stone Street, Buchanan is your top 7. Brad Hayes in 8th, Vigar and Harris is the 10.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a rough start for Bence, and really didn't get the same run as we see Andrew Hoffman pulling over to stay out of the way there of the field that comes through. So already finds himself a lap down after those early shenanigans. We'll have to go back and take a look at those in just a moment. And in front, though, still the Frog Leap Juice Racing duo. Phil Manuel still with them there, but the group behind starting to close the gap. It's not much, but it is getting just a little closer together as this continues on. We've had a few things happen in that opening little salvo. The big one, I think, really will be Jason Bence getting caught up in it. The Chubby Buns replay will show this, and we will see what's happened here. I think this is where Vargs is. Yeah, so there's been a bit of contact from Bence and a bit of contact there. It could have been worse for Varga. I mean, he's copped a big hit in the background there that straightened him up from Abel Verban. But yeah, just I think a little bit of a series of events there, for lack of a better way of putting it. I don't think Burridge. Yeah, I don't think Burridge would have quite gotten into Varga if it hadn't been for the nudge from Bence. And it's such an awkward corner for it to happen on as well. But Varga getting lucky and getting nudged back the right way. Ash Hall's had a big slide.
They've done something to drive through. And he got that in the pit lane by the looks of it.
Douglas has been black flagged, although that may be from the previous race, the race control message that I'm seeing. We'll wait and see if that is if there is an update there. But you could be right. It could be a black flag from the pit entry or something along those lines. As Stone Street loses the spot to Will Buchanan, who continues to move up through the field. He's having a bit of a time trying to get through these guys, and it is a tough part of the field to negotiate. Everyone that's in this front 10's really fairly quick, and even though Buchanan has been dominating this season, he's not so fast that he can just pick them off, one per corner or anything like that. So he's going to have to work for this. The gap out in front for Poynton is starting to really extend now. This is Nick Geary and Phil Manuel. They've stayed together, but Poynton has just continued to extend further and further as time goes on here. I do want to...
He's walking away with this.
Yeah, look, it's early days, right? We're only 5 laps in. Still a long way to go. Still pit stops to consider. Still the very high chance of a safety car at some stage. But he is starting to open that gap up, and Buchanan will be watching that pretty closely. The reality is there's very few people on track that are going to be able to challenge a big move from Phil Manuel on the inside to turn 1. Side by side, gets it done very easily. Manuel executing a beautiful move up the inside of Geary there. There's not really a lot of people on track who are going to be able to threaten Buchanan in terms of the overall championship, as we see Jace Douglas coming back out from serving that black flag. Still not entirely sure whether or not that has been issued by race control, or if indeed it has been No, it absolutely has. As Jason Bentz has a black flag now. So that's been issued by race control. We'll get an update on that in a second. And I think we might have missed this. The drive-through for Jace Douglas due to an incident between himself and Andrew Hoffman on lap 1. So we'll go back and we'll have a look at that in just a moment.
It's it's all been happening. Again, race number 2, usually the gloves are off and Ben's he's pushing on, so not serving that drive through straight away, which is interesting.
Nick Geary slides into 2.
Geary, massive incident or moment there for Nick Geary, and that has lost him. So it's between 888, 42 and 100, drive through penalty for car 100. So that is Perrins, Burridge and Bentz all a part of this. So this is Andrew Hoffman. Watch.
Oh, Jace Douglas coming around the outside through the dirt and just gets it pulled up.
Nothing there at this stage.
No, that's
down to turn 3. This could be where it happens.
Does Douglas just push a little too hard here, or is it? It's actually further in. Oh, big nuts there, just straight into the back of him. Yep. And Hoffman,
huge hit,
straight into the tyre wall. And unfortunately, those tyres not as soft as real world racetrack tyres. They do a fair bit of damage.
Certainly do, and yeah, that is not ideal. And again, it's put him right down the back of the field. He's now ahead of Jace Douglas after Jace Douglas had to serve that drive through. This is Jason Bentz, so tell the story of what happened.
Yeah, contact and causing that incident with Varga as well.
Huge incident. Yep.
So not a massive surprise to see a penalty issued for that one.
No, they listed 888 as being a part of that incident, and I believe they meant 868.
Stephen Varga 868. Unfortunately, not a lot of difference between that and the 888 car of Scott Perrins. Has there ever been a full reverse grid race? If so, what happened? We've definitely done full reverse grids. I can't recall the last time we had one with ASR. It has happened. It was utter madness. As expected. And as expected, really. There's All of these guys very, very quick in Gen 3 supercars, but there is still a significant difference in pace from the front of the field to the back of the field. And as you get drivers like Buchanan, like Stone Street, Daly, Manuel, and there's a lot of guys here really quick. Jason Bentz, you'll see him now even serving that drive-through penalty, sitting in 21st at the moment. He's 12 spots down from where he started. I wouldn't be at all surprised to see him back up into the top 10 by the time this race is done.
No, he definitely should be back up the pointy end of this field by the end of this race, and there is a long way to go still. That's in the foreground. One of the Quantum cars going off the road, the 33 car of Ash Hall getting out of the way as traffic moves on through. So he is also down a lap at the moment, unfortunately. Got his 3 cars already down a lap. Jay Stoll was actually down a lap, running toward the pit lane twice. Will Buchanan still in P5, not able to find a way past Trav Daly yet. He's been here for a little while actually, just looking at the rear end of the M1 Racing Ford Mustang and trying to find a way past. But as he said, this top 10, Will Buchanan is very, very quick when he's got clean air, but at the moment finding it difficult to execute an overtake around Oran Park, as has been the case for a number of drivers this evening. He is deep under brakes here at turn 2. He could set himself up at 3, but he's finding it a little bit difficult at the moment.
Yeah, and look, it's not surprising, right? It's a tough track to get a pass done, and starting at the back of a reverse 10, no matter how quick you are, you've still got to find a way to get through safely, and there's not a lot of room to do it here on Park. It did look like he was going to send a move up through, I can't remember what turn number it is, but actually just up from where we are on track now. It looked like he had an opportunity to get up the inside of Daly, and he's going to look at it again here. Can't quite get this time. Last lap around, Daly had a little bit of a wiggle just on the way out of that flip-flop that did open the door ever so slightly, but not enough for Buchanan to safely get through. And that'll be what Buchanan's focused on at the moment, is making this a safe pass and getting out in front and carrying on. Question in the chat, is Josh Harris still carrying damage from race 1? He might be carrying emotional damage, but that should be about it, I would think. The cars do get fully repaired between races. It's purely anything that he's picked up in this race in terms of damage to the vehicle, but it does look to be in pretty good shape at the moment. Chris Burridge all over the back end of the Domain Stew car, but Josh Harris keeping it reasonably tidy for the moment. I think Burridge is going to look for a move here up the inside, late under brakes, the door left ever so slightly open, and that's all the invitation that Burridge needs. He'll go through and he'll pick up P10 from Harris.
Yeah, Harris is going to have a little bit to say about this, but I think unfortunately for him, Burridge has worked hard at that for a number of laps now and finally found a way through and back into the 10, where he was right up until the dying moments of race number 1. This is Will Buchanan, still can't get past the man we're on board with at the moment, Trav Daly, searching for any sort of opportunity. What this has done, though, has allowed Troy Stone Street to close right back up to this group. So he had pulled away a little bit, created a bit of a breathing space to around a second, and now he's within half a second. So for Will Buchanan, he was hoping to clear Trav Daly as soon as possible and just not have to worry about any pressure from behind. But now he has to look forward, but he also has to look backwards and worry if Troy Stone Street's going to try and size up a move here on the Revolution iRacing car to maybe move up another spot. And Will Buchanan, the last thing he'll want to do is move backwards. He doesn't need to get past Trav Daly soon, but he will certainly want to.
Yeah, he's got to be patient. We've still got, we're realistically about a third of the way through the race at the moment. You see a bit of dust in the background from one of the Quantum cars. I think there was Ash Hall running off the track there in turn 2. It's turn 1 and 2 here at Oran Park. It's tough. It's really, really tough. A big slide there from Daly. That might open the door here. Buchanan's going to pounce on that. Look at him close the gap as they come towards the final turn. Jams it up the inside under brakes. And in the end, makes it look pretty easy. Daly's going to try and go over under here, and he gets the nose back in front, gets the power down, and he might actually retain this spot. That'd be a brilliant recovery from Daly if he can hold it. He's on the inside down towards 1, and that'll be enough for him to defend it. What a brilliant, brilliant little bit of recovery work from Trav Daly. But that will have cost his tyres a bit of temperature, a bit of wear, and Buchanan's going to be absolutely on the hunt now.
Yeah, Buchanan will be really just, he knows that he can find those opportunities now. He has the ability to open the door and get past Trav Daly. He's not completely unable to find a way past this man around this circuit. He just needs to execute it a little bit better and just, well, not better, but just take away that opportunity for Trav Daly to come back at him. You can see in the foreground Jace Douglas, who was a lap down. He's a part of this as well. Darryl Callahan trying to create some distance between these guys and being able to do that while this battle rages on. Look how close Buchanan is to the back of Daly as they run through 10 and 11 down towards turn 12 now, deep under brakes. This is where he got through last time. Not close enough on this occasion to make that happen, but he has had a nice run out of the final corner. Looks threatening to go past here at turn 1 and 2 if he's close enough. He's in the slipstream thinking about it. He'll have to show the nose early, but not there. And under brakes, he's not looking like he's going to show the nose here. So back to sitting in behind for now. Maybe not necessarily content, but just waiting for the right opportunity.
Definitely defensive though, holding the middle of the track, really forcing Buchanan to commit very, very heavily if he's going to try and make a move. So Daly's obviously very aware of Buchanan's presence and doing everything he can to hold him up here. Almost a little bit of overlap there for Buchanan as they get up and over the bridge, but not quite enough to make anything of it. And Buchanan still struggling to find his way past. Question, did the fastest driver still win that full reverse grid? I'd have to go back and check. Big moment for Trav Daly. He spears off the inside of the track over to the infield. And that's the limit of what he can do to hold up Will Buchanan. Thankfully, no damage done. There's a lot of room to run off the track there. He's just going to have to be careful on the rejoin, but with plenty of space around, he'll drop back to 9th, and Will Buchanan will get his clean air finally.
That's taken a lot of time and a big mistake from Trav Daly for that door to finally be open for Will Buchanan to move on through. Nick Geary, P6, after starting on the front row. He is struggling a little bit now with those tyres. Look at the slide he had through turn 1. Chad Varga will be the next driver to size up and move past the Frog Leap Juice Racing Mustang. A little wide in the background is Jace Douglas, letting cars through. Nick Geary will be the next car in line to show the blue flags to the car that is unfortunately a lap or two down now after drive through and a secondary tour of the pit lane as well. So we had 2 tours of the pit lane. Trav Daly's in the lane to serve his stop, so that's probably a good call actually at the moment. Just take a bit of a breather, use this stop as the opportunity to reset yourself. He's at pit exit now and we'll come back out on circuit behind Jason Benz, but Jason Benz also yet to stop in this race.
It has been it's been a reasonably well-behaved race overall, but there's been a few key moments that have just caused a few opportunities that the drivers have taken advantage of. Trav Daly's the one I'm really looking at, having come in so early for his stop, lap 14. So he's going for the undercut, but he's not going to leave himself with a whole lot of tyre to play with. Good timing on the question there, actually, in terms of how bad the tyre wear is. Yeah, really, you only get the 3 laps as you put on a fresh set. 3 or 4 laps are about all you get at full noise, and from there it's just a constant battle to manage them through the rest of the race. Being a fairly short circuit, I mean, you'd often expect to get a bit more out of them, but because you're constantly working them here at Oran Park, you will go through them a bit faster than perhaps some people might expect. I would say that 20 laps is probably not a bad spot to be thinking about changing them over. It's the halfway point of this race after all, and you're not going to get a lot more out of doing any longer of a stint than that. Realistically, they're starting to drop right off by about 10 laps in any case. So it's always a battle to just manage the tyre wear as opposed to using a lot of it up over an extended period of time. They really don't last very long at all. Will Buchanan just continues to move up through the field, doesn't he? Already closing in on Darryl Callahan, who's got a healthy little lead in terms of the Cup Trophy drivers. Nick Geary, the next one in line for points there. But the gap, crucially, from from Callahan up to Poynton is something like, well, it's just shy of 6 seconds at the moment. So Buchanan's still got a lot of work to do as we get closer and closer to the halfway point of this race.
Yeah, there is, look, a lot of work for him to do. He does have a lot of pace, and that has been exemplified by how quickly he's closed in on Callahan after Trav Daly unfortunately made that mistake and moved out of the way of the championship leader. And now we are looking at Rick Vigo on pit exit. And, oh, very awkward moment there.
It's
with
Phil Manuel coming through. Yeah, not ideal.
And that is a car that was in second place, and that the last thing you want to do is get in the way of a car that is, well, a lap ahead. And so that is a very, very awkward moment on pit exit. A little bit of a cross-up moment there for Josh Harris as well on replay, and that cost him some time to Abel Verban. And Josh Harris, as a consequence, is now in the pit lane getting a pit stop done, putting some new tyres on that car, which I think are very much needed.
Yeah, it really doesn't take a lot at all for these tyres to have some significant issues. We see a Quantum car off the circuit there. I suspect that is Ash Hall, who's just getting out of the way, and a few drivers finding themselves a bit of a way back and off that lead lap as we see Darryl Callahan coming in for his pit stop. That midpoint of the race, not a bad way to go. There'll be some drivers here who are probably considering just holding off until a bit closer to the end of the race, just in case there is a safety car. Out in front, Mark Poynton, he's looking relatively comfortable, but the gap to Buchanan behind is coming down very, very quickly. There's Buchanan just at the back of shot as we cut back to Poynton. I think Luke Ullman is probably on the money. I doubt we'll ever see a full reverse grid again after what happened the last time around. But you know, it's not a bad bit of variety. You've just got to be careful about which circuit you're actually putting them on at, I think. There are definitely tracks that are better for it than others.
Look, we see Legacy Australia Racing Championship do it on a Friday night every couple of weeks, and they have their reverse grids, and it certainly works for them, which is fantastic. As Poynton dives in the lane, Phil Manuel's going to follow him in. Will Buchanan will continue on, so this could be the overcut strategy for Will Buchanan. He has to get past Rick Vigo in front, but a bit of fresh air could do him some good with the pace he definitely has in that car. Look, there is, as you said, there is a world in which full reverse grids work and are fantastic, but I think for these Gen 3 supercars, it's just a little bit difficult to really pull it off effectively and for it to be fantastic with the way that these cars drive. So it can, at some circuits, as you said, really look good and probably go well, but reverse top 10s at the moment I still think are fantastic. It rewards drivers that are quick enough to make it into the 10 but maybe can't find their way through the field the way they would be hoping to in race number 1. And then can get out in front. Someone like Mark Poynton can come back to the back end of the top 10. Know he has the pace to be at the front of the field, and all of a sudden that pace can be unleashed because he finished 10th and now he's on pole. So as long as he can convert that race start, he has the opportunity to go and do what he does best at the front of the field. Will Buchanan pushing on in the clean air, did a 1:07.1 that time by, so looking nice and quick. It's been outlap for Mark Poynton and Phil Manuel, so we won't really get a good understanding of what their times will be, but before their pit stops, the lap time that Will Buchanan has done is faster than any lap Phil Manuel has done in this race, and only just slower than Mark Poynton's best time so far in this race. So he is lapping very, very quickly and could make the overcut work here, which is unconventional.
It is, but if it's going to work anywhere, I think Oran Park is probably about one of only a few tracks where you're likely to pull it off, I suspect. Just thinking about the full reverse grids, you know, what I'd be interested to see sometime, and I haven't thought this through beyond just a brief thought bubble here, as Vigar sets the fastest lap of 6.7. Wow, Chad Vigar on a fresh-ish set of tyres, just 3 laps into those fresh tyres, and he is absolutely flying. Something about a bit of clean air that will do that. It'll be interesting to keep an eye on Buchanan's as he comes around, although Buchanan into the pits now, so he's coming in for the fresh boots, and given how quickly he was going, I expect we'll see some sixes out of him yet. I would be interested to see, we usually have about an hour and a half of racing across the two races here with ASR each week. I think what would be interesting is to have two back-to-back hour and a half long single enduro races in a round, and have a full reverse grid in the second one based on the finishing results from the first. I think that's probably about the only way that it would work relatively cleanly. I mean, they're not sprint races at this sort of distance, but they're certainly not long enough that you can afford to pick your way through a field slowly if you're a driver that is at the back in a full reverse grid. Exactly. So I think that would be probably the best bet. Chad Weigar's just gone a 100th quicker, a 200th quicker, sorry, a 106.69. So backing up and really finding the groove here in the Angry Birds Mustang. Hopefully he can keep it moving.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's looking very, very good. Poynton has come out, well, Buchanan Australia has come out behind Poynton, but in front of Phil Manuel. So the overcut has worked to an extent for Buchanan. He's gained a position on Phil Manuel and now into net P2 once Verban and Bentz complete their stops. However, he is, well, only 2 seconds behind Mark Poynton and looking very, very, very quick. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him take the fastest lap off Chad Weigar at some stage in the next lap or two. Comes across the line. No, that was his out lap. So
okay, fine. We'll wait another lap. Why not? I suppose.
Weigar's consistently in the sixes.
Yeah,
so he's consistent right now.
For Poynton, and then a 107.08. So the track is definitely favouring high sixes at the moment. Be interesting to see what Buchanan can pull off here as Weigar clears Darryl Callahan, or is hoping to, but Callahan making it difficult. Weigar's going to go up the inside, just barely squeezes through, and will continue on. Plenty of pace. And,
yeah, he's
looking to just cement a decent result. He's up 12 positions from where he started, so on track for a very, very strong result for Chad Weigar here tonight.
He's been super quick in the sixes for the last 3 laps, within 2/10 of himself. Won't be this lap with that battle with Callahan, but he is a net P4 as it stands at the moment. Across the line for Will Buchanan, what's it going to be? A 106.2, so blows that time out of the water. 5/10 quicker.
Second.
Yeah, half second quicker than Mark Poynton on the previous lap.
That is just so quick. And Buchanan with fresh tyres. You see this every time with the Gen 3 Supercars. You get the fresh tyres on, you do your out lap, and then you'll see your fastest time. Whether he can back that up again here or not is a whole other thing, but that just demonstrates that there is going to be no stopping Buchanan. Poynton is about to have 10 laps at least of absolute fight for his life defending here if he wants to hold on to P1. And I think Poynton being in the way is about the only thing that's going to stop Buchanan going to a 6th flat at this stage.
Yeah, I think the rate in which he is catching Poynton in front means he's going to have to back off and try and battle here rather than go for flat out fastest times. What will it be as we come across the line for these two? Poynton hasn't been able to lift the way I think he'd be hoping he would, with Buchanan coming right up behind him. It is a 106.3, and he is 0.8 quicker on the previous lap than Mark Poynton, so he has some serious speed in that car right now. Nick Geary also in the 6s that time by Chad Weigar back into the 7s now, as
just shows the drop off of the tyres, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right. As everyone starts to get into a rhythm and use those tyres, which are now, for Chad Weigar, about 7 laps old, he is starting to see the drop off and just falling away from those really fast times he was doing at the beginning of this stint.
Yeah, you really do only get those 2, maybe 3 blisteringly fast laps. From there on, it just slowly degrades, and you'll see it plateau in about probably 4 or 5 laps time for these drivers. Look at this. Buchanan slides it out of the corner behind Poynton. He's going to try and go around the outside here. Poynton's defending hard. and will probably stay a fair way over to try and defend the inside through turn 1 and turn 2. Buchanan, though, absolutely flying down the straight. Now, the question will be, does Poynton move across to try and provide a bit of side draft and just slow Buchanan's roll a little? Poynton's going to hold on to it, but that is the level of defence he's going to have to put on every single lap here for the next, what, 11, 12 laps? That is a massive ask. A massive ask for Mark Poynton. Even as good of a driver as he is, it's going to be a huge amount of pressure that he's going to have to maintain here, and Buchanan will not lift at all. This is going to be a great battle. It's not going to take much of a mistake, though, I reckon, for Buchanan to pounce. Whether or not Poynton can drive perfect laps from here all the way to the end is going to be the real test.
Yeah, that's going to be the thing. This is going to be an exhausting 11 laps for Mark Poynton if he wants to defend from Will Buchanan, and Will Buchanan will be desperate to just clear him, get it out of the way as soon as possible. This is where he has to be picture perfect. A little bit of a moment there. It looks like a slight lockup for Mark Poynton into the final corner, and now Will Buchanan is all over him. Defensive goes Poynton. He's walking the car to the middle of the circuit to make Will Buchanan have to commit one way or another, and he does. He goes to the outside, under brakes into one. Defensive driving from Poynton. They are side by side through turn 2. The overlap is still there off the corner, and Poynton thought he might have got away with it, but this will be it for Buchanan down the inside at 3, gets the move done. He's going to try and drive back underneath him here, Poynton, but Buchanan has placed that car perfectly to stop the switchback and has gotten into the lead of this race. It was hard work for him to make his way through the field. A number of cars made it difficult, but he finally, after 27 laps, finds himself back in the lead of this field. And Mark Poynton, who has led this race since the start, will have to fall back in a second. He's going to try and go in with him here, but you have to feel that Mark Poynton probably doesn't have enough in the tank, unfortunately, as good a driver as he is, to stay with Will Buchanan tonight.
Car placement from Buchanan there through that series of corners, absolutely spot on. There was
Agreed.
Absolutely no faulting him. He stayed to the outside, knew he had the pace out of the final turn, stayed to the outside and around the outside of turn 2 in particular to set up for the inside line into 3. And as soon as they came out of 2, if Poynton had just another 30 centimetres ahead of them on track, he would have been able to come across and shut the door, but unfortunately Buchanan just did enough to keep the car bodies alongside each other, and that was all it took. From that point on, the move was never in doubt. We're going to see Nick Geary look up the inside of Callahan in exactly the same spot, force it up and over the curb. Not quite as clean and tidy, but he'll be on the inside again as we go up towards the bridge, and that'll be another spot for Nick Geary. We do actually, do still have classes. There is, it's not so much a Class A and B, but there is the overall championship. Big moment for Nick Geary. Downshifts and locks the rear, just catches it. Very, very lucky to keep that on track. I'm not quite sure how he managed to do that, but he's done it without popping the motor. But a huge compression lock on the rear end there has sent Geary sideways through the flip-flop, and he's only just held on to it. That would have been a real brown pants moment for him. Coming back to it, the overall championship is being contested by all drivers, but there is also a cup trophy, which are the drivers marked in silver on your timing tower, which is, what would you'd kind of call it the Class B or the amateur class, although it's not really amateurs in this field. It's just those are a little bit slower than the pace of the top end of the field, as Brad Hayes runs it a little bit wide out of one, recovers, but loses the spot to Chris Burridge.
Yeah, it's the trophy class, so I think it's the guys that just look. If you had everyone here pro, then the championship would be over fairly quickly. Putting these drivers in a class, a second class, essentially a pro-am class, really, when you think about it. It just gives them something a little bit different to fight for as this season goes on, and it's not the same 5 drivers battling it out for the championship. So it adds a little bit of variety, as well as the chance for promotion. We've seen the last few seasons the drivers that do no further action between car 17 and 59. That looks like a
Josh Harris is disconnected.
Josh Harris.
He's had a few issues here and there, and unfortunately looks like it might be back tonight as he drops through the field. I think he'll be done for the evening. Which is he's back again. That was a
He's back.
A horrifically long disconnection.
Very long.
Geez, that would have been terrifying for Jason Benz, who was coming up behind him at the time.
Yeah, he would have been not happy at all for that to take place, but he's now back in 20th position as a result of that very long disconnects. Joe Callahan in P6 as Troy Stone Street right behind him. Stone Street was third in race number 2, not able to make his way through the top 10 like I think he was hoping he would be able to in this race. This top 10 proving a very difficult challenge for all drivers this evening, and very, very competitive. Goes to show the nature of everyone and just how good these drivers are at here at ASR. At the moment, your podium looks like Buchanan, Point and Phil Manuel. Great to see Phil Manuel on the podium, by the way. Fantastic for him this evening. He's had a few difficult rounds, so to see him up on the podium and in third place at this stage with a handful of laps to go is fantastic. Stone Street looking to move past Callahan into turn 1. Gets that move done before they even get to the braking zone of turn 2. They already are on the brakes at 1 to pull the car up for 2, but not as heavy as they would be once they go through. The last thing you want to be doing in a supercar, really, Jared, is turning at a high speed and braking at the same time. That is the worst enemy of a V8 supercar when it comes to gripping the track, but gets that done, moves up a spot. Horsell looking to put a move on Rick Vigar at some stage, who's also up 9 spots. So both the Vigars, two of the biggest movers in this race. The other big mover is Will Buchanan, who's up 9 spots as well. But great to see the Vigars bouncing back from a difficult race 1 and moving forward.
Yes, indeed. And to the point made in the chat around a Bathurst race, look, it's not quite the setup that you're dreaming of here in terms of must have an overall driver paired with a cup driver, but we do have the ASR Bathurst 1000 coming up. I haven't scheduled it on the channel just yet, but Sunday, September 27th, look forward to the Bathurst 1000. It's a bit of an annual tradition. After all, it has to happen at some point during the year for these guys. But that'll be on Sunday from about 11 a.m. Eastern Australian time. So convert that to wherever you are around the world. But that will be about 6 hours of all-out racing up and down the mountain. And it's what supercars are all about, honestly. You can't go past a Bathurst 1000 with V8 supercars.
No, absolutely not. It's one I'm very, very much looking forward to. It's a fantastic event for ASR every year, and look, this year will be absolutely no exception. 1,000 kilometres, hopefully a large number of cars out there. Driver pairings will be very competitive, I am sure, and I'm looking forward to seeing what everyone comes up with when we get to that time of year. And the end of September is going to be, or the 27th of September is going to be a fantastic day for supercar racing here at Alliance Sim Racing. For now, though, we still have this race to finish and this season as well to conclude. And Josh Harris is under pressure right now from Jace Douglas behind, although it's not actually for position. He is a lap down, so Douglas has pace, but he's not able really to. We can put the move on, but it's not really going to net him any overall position, isn't it? This is the teammates now, Callahan and Daly, battling for 7th and 8th position. One of the closest battles we have on track at the moment. The rest of the cars mostly spread out. Horsell and Vigar are also battling, but this is the only real close battle inside the top 10 at the moment, with only a handful of laps to go.
Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? Oran Park being one of the shortest tracks in the season, and it's done it a number of times. It either produces some brilliantly close finishes or produces a really spread out field, and it's a little hard to tell what you're going to get in any given race. It looks like for race 2 here we're going to have a fairly well spread field. So I don't quite know what the difference is. It's just luck of the draw. Although to be fair, race 1, the safety car relatively late in the piece probably had a lot more to do with it than anything else. But just the consistency of lap times here, and the overlap of drivers through the pit stops, it does seem to produce just a bit more of a staggered field with not a lot of really close battles at the end. That's if you get a green flag run all the way through. Yeah, look, there might be people looking for co-drivers to field a team in the Bathurst 1000. but it's certainly not closed to only drivers in this series. It is a standalone event, so it's not actually linked to the season here. As Luke Gorman has said, anyone can sign up. You do need a team of 2. And if you'd like to be involved in that, then the way to go is to get in touch with the Alliance Sim Racing Discord. I actually have a Discord link available to drop in the chat here, but you can. I'm just going to have a quick look and make sure I'm not. Yeah, you can email the guys. It's in the YouTube description just down below. alliancesimracingaustralia@gmail.com. If you'd like to put an entry in or have a chat to them about it, they can absolutely get you into the conversation and get involved with what will no doubt be another fantastic Bathurst 1000 event. I'm looking forward to it. We've got a commentary team lined up and ready to go, and we'll be covering all of the action right here on Simple Racing Broadcasts from green flag to the checkered, as we always do. Just a few laps to go on that note until we get the checkered flag here for Oran Park, and to finish off this round it's going to be Will Buchanan by, well, look, it's still going to be a decent margin. I think 5 seconds is pretty impressive, honestly, around such a short track, and considering he started in 10th, to be back out in front and that far ahead just shows the pace. I think this really reinforces for me that we're not going to see anyone challenge him for that top spot in the championship, Isaac, unless there's something that goes pretty horribly wrong for him.
Yeah, this is. Look, I don't see it going horribly. If anyone was it horribly wrong from here for pretty much most drivers out there. This battle between Geary and Stone Street could end in tears if it gets a little bit racy towards the end. Burridge is right in behind Callahan as well, so he's putting some late pressure on, and we saw it end in tears for Chris Burridge in race number 1. Hopefully it doesn't do the same in race number 2. He's got a bit of breathing room to Brad Hayes, who's back in 10th place, so should finish inside the top 10 here. But yeah, a couple of laps to go. Will Buchanan's actually about to cross the line to start the final lap of the race and receive the white flag. Up the inside goes Jason Bentz on Brett Horsell, and that will be a positional gain for him. Horsell trying to make a point of it, but Bentz already ahead as they get to turn 4 under brakes, and looking for the switch back here is Horsell, but not deep enough off the bridge in through 6 to get that move done. So Will Buchanan out in front, well in control. Mike Pointing and Phil Manuel. This is going to be a fantastic result for these guys, and Will Buchanan just continues to dominate in this championship.
That he does. Nick Geary and Troy Stone Street are going to take this all the way to the line. I'm so happy to see people in the chat with fond memories of the puddle of death from last year's Bathurst 1000. That was something that's definitely worth looking back at in the highlights. I might have to go and just clip a few of those incidents, I reckon, and put together a quick short package for that at some stage, because yeah, the puddle up at Skyline last year claimed a whole lot of victims, as it looks like Nick Geary will take that one. Stone Street just with the error, but Buchanan takes the win. Done easily again here tonight, almost 7 seconds to Mark Point, who'll come home in second, and Phil Manuel crosses the line in third. Chad Vigar just outside of podium contention as the rest of the field rolls through. Nick Geary in the end gets home relatively easily over Stone Street, with Trav Daly, Darryl Callahan and Chris Burridge, 3M1 Racing drivers, crossing at the back end of the top 10. Brad Hayes will round out the top 10 to finish, and only a few cars out on track really still with battles to work out. There's not a lot of close cars left out there. It's probably the closest trio that you'll find right now: Jason Bentz, Rick Viger and Brett Horsell. Bentz not getting up through quite as many spots as he probably would have liked to, and Josh Harris thinks about one last dive at Troy Sippel into the final turn, but not close enough. He'll finish in 19th. Sips just ahead in 18th, as Alistair Bales comes home just behind Scott Perrins, with Jace Douglas crossing the line. But Will Buchanan enjoying every bit of his victory here tonight as he uses up what's left of the tyres. And we'll go and take a look at the official standings as iRacing sends them on through to us. Will Buchanan takes the victory here in race number 2. Another perfect round for him. Mark Poynton in second will be absolutely stoked with that, as will Phil Manuel in P3. Vigar behind them. Nick Geary, a great finish in the Cup Trophy class, coming home in 5th overall with Troy Stonestreet behind him. Trav Daly and Darryl Callahan, then Chris Burridge, the trio of M1 Racing entries ahead of Brad Hayes, rounding out your top 10 with Stephen Varga, Abel Verban and Tony Chapman behind them. Jason Bentz did his best to move back up through the field but couldn't get much further than 14th. Rick Vigar in 15th with Brett Horsell behind. Tommy DeWitt and Troy Sipple, then Josh Harris and Scott Perrins rounding out your top 20. Behind them, Alistair Bales, the last driver to finish on the lead lap. Jace Douglas managed to squeeze home only 1 lap down, which, considering the number of pit lane visits he had, is actually a pretty good finish. Andrew Hoffman down 7 laps in the end. Ash Hall down 21, and a long way back in the field. James Hardy, of course, not starting race number 2. And yeah, look, I'd say a relatively conservative second race there for most of the drivers, Isaac.
Yeah, I was surprised with the lack of safety car in that second race. I was thinking as we read out the results there that Chase Douglas did very well to finish only a lap down with no safety car to help him get any laps back. So that is a fantastic result for Jace. But yeah, an interesting one. As you said, it's sort of a bit 50-50 with Oran Park. Sometimes we get a really, really close race finish, and sometimes everyone's just a little bit spread out and there's not too much that happens towards the back end of an Oran Park race. Still a couple battles that were resolved right as we crossed the line there, but for Will Buchanan, Mark Poynton and Phil Manuel, it is a great second race at the office, and for Will Buchanan, another great night at the office, taking both wins.
And speaking of Phil Manuel, he joins us in the booth now. G'day, Phil. Welcome on in.
G'day, fellas. How you going?
Mate, doing well here. That looked like a fair bit of work out there. Oran Park always is. How are you feeling after those couple of races?
Yeah, it was a bit of a slog, actually. I'm out in the shed, middle of winter in Adelaide. It's cold, but I'm actually quite hot. So it was a bit of work. So yeah, no, it was good fun though.
Hey, we saw you pretty quiet in race 1, and pretty similar again in race 2. You managed to move up a few spots, but you weren't involved in a lot of battles throughout. Was that part of the plan, or just how it seemed to work out on track for you tonight?
Yeah, no, it definitely wasn't part of the plan. It was, I mean, obviously you'd like that to happen every week, but yeah, look, I was just trying to stay out of trouble and do my own thing, and it sort of cards fell my way a little bit with getting in and out the pits, and yeah, so pretty happy with how it turned out.
Well, mate, can't argue with the results. Getting onto the podium here in race 2. Just looking back at it, you only actually only made 4 on-track overtakes for the entirety of race 2 there. So kept the nose very, very clean, and it certainly has helped you get home. In terms of pit strategy tonight, did you go into it with anything in particular in mind, or just kind of waited out to see if there was going to be a safety car and then went in at about the halfway point?
Yeah, I sort of just thought I'd see how it go with quali, and I sort of qualied 10th, I think it was, and I thought I'll just keep going around and try and split it up for tyres, and that's just what I did, so it just seemed to work well for me.
Made a very, very tidy little result across both races for you. Congratulations, first of all, on the outcome. We'll let you get back to it and, I don't know, get a well-deserved victory drink of choice. But before you do go, anyone you want to say hello to while we've got you here?
Yeah, I can't not give Rick Vigar a shout out. He and I don't know if you guys saw it on the broadcast, but he came out the pits and I sort of collected him a little bit. So apologies to Rick. Didn't call it in or anything like that, so I thank him. But other than that, just my family really for letting me spend the time out here. I would usually thank my teammates, but I'm on my own now. So yeah, that'll do, I think.
We did catch it. It was only a little bit of a nudge there in the end, so not a lot to it.
I was waiting for the call. I was pretty worried, but no, happy it didn't come.
Mate, well, good on you. A good little result for you tonight. We'll let you carry on and enjoy the spoils for it for this evening, mate. Thanks for dropping by to have a chat to us.
No worries. Thanks, fellas.
That is, of course, Phil Manuel taking P3 in race number 2. Just ahead of him on track, Mark Poynton joins us now. G'day, Mark.
How are we, guys?
Mate, doing pretty well. Phil's feeling a little bit sore and sorry for himself after what was a pretty tough race, being Oran Park. I imagine you're probably feeling much the same.
Yeah, not. It's probably my favourite housing development. Put it that way. It's not my not my most favourite track, but it's just such hard work. You don't get a break, and yeah, it's pretty tough. Not a lot of passing opportunity, and all the rest of it. But yeah, not a bad night after getting turned in race 1. But yeah, fought my way back. And
unfortunately, that's been a bit of your story lately, hasn't it? It's that race 1 has not always been kind to you, and you found yourself fighting back, particularly in the second race, probably a few more times than you'd like, I imagine.
Yes, but that's all part of it. It's all racing and all the rest of it. Character building, they say.
Yeah, something like that. Hey, we're just watching a bit of footage from where Will Buchanan did finally find a way past you on about lap 27, I think it was. And after getting so deep into that race, we were really hoping that you had it in you to hold on for, I think it was about 10 laps you needed to defend from him. Did you know as soon as he got around the outside of you into 2 that he was going to take you at that point, or did you think you might have still been able to hold on to it a little bit longer?
Yeah, I could see from this. I mean, I could kind of tell from the start-finish line what he was planning to do. He executed it really, really well. Yeah, I tried to hold the tight line and tried to get out of the corner quickly and try and cover that because I knew that would be where he would try. And hats off to him. Will's been lightning fast all season, and yeah, he, to be honest, if he didn't get me that lap, he had 10 more. He had 10 more tries with 10 laps to go. I think he would have pulled one of them off in a later lap anyway. He was far too quick tonight.
Mate, he's been blisteringly quick all season so far, and to even mix it with him, I think just speaks volumes as to your own pace, mate. So congratulations on the results. It's a shame you couldn't hold him for longer, but it's a tough track to do that for that length of time, and after the amount of racing you've already done for the night, I certainly don't think my arms would be up to it either. So, mate, a great result. Before we let you go, as always, if there's anyone you want to say hello to, we'll give you the floor now.
Just a big thanks to you guys. Thank you for the commentary, for the broadcast, the admin of the league, and also race control. All of you guys do a fantastic job, and very privileged and happy to be in the league. So thank you to you guys, and then from our team, thanks to Nick. Nick had a good race too. He's back after a couple of weeks off, so it's nice to have a teammate in there, and Nick did well for himself as well tonight. So our sponsors, Juiced Energy and Stodhawk.
Always a pleasure to chat to you, Mark. Hopefully not the last time we get to this season, and looking forward to seeing how you go next time around.
Awesome. Thanks, Jared.
Mark Poynton takes out P2 for the final race this evening, and we're joined now by the overall winner and taking both races in the end. It's Will Buchanan. G'day, Will.
Hey boys, how are you?
Mate, doing pretty well. It took a little while for you to get through the pack there from that reverse top 10 in race 2, but once you got out in front, you started to really open it up once again. Still plenty of pace left in the car at the end of that one.
Yeah, it was pretty tough to come through the field in that second race. Shout out to Travis. I think he was defending really well and making my life a whole lot of trouble. So kudos to him. I knew the strategy. We just needed to go long to get that tyre offset, just getting held up so much. I was thinking the undercut, but just with all the traffic and all that, I think that would have bit us in the butt a bit. So yeah, so I was just basically going for, let's see what pace we can do in clear air once the leaders come in, and just get a tyre offset on, and hopefully it turned out well, and it did.
Yeah, we were wondering just how long it was going to take you to get past Trav Daly. You did an amazing job defending. Mark Poynton was all set to do much the same to you there, but you managed to get around the outside coming through turn 1 and turn 2 on lap 27 there. Obviously something you were trying to engineer for a little while. Did you know as you came down the straight that you were going to be in the position for it, or just kind of had to toss it in there and hope?
It was a bit of both. I knew I had a grip advantage over him, and that outside line is pretty grippy there. And then it sets up the next two corners, and they're both next three because they're all right-handers. So he did break a bit earlier, so it made it a bit easier. But yeah, it's definitely pre-planned. Probably not as early as I thought. Probably like halfway down the straight, but yeah, happy to pull it off. It's
one of those tracks, isn't it? You really can't. You can't pull off a pass here at Oran Park without planning it at least 2 or 3 corners ahead, from what I've seen, and happy to be told otherwise. But it's a tough track to get it done at.
Yeah, there's like only 2 or 3 corners where you can really pass, but you can keep the speed up pretty well through them. So it is pretty tough to get a move done. It was legit. The only reason I got past Mark at the end in that move I did was just a tyre advantage.
Well, mate, regardless of how it's come about, you got it done in the end and opened up a pretty sizable gap in those last few laps. Another brilliant drive for you tonight. The championship looking almost out of reach for anyone else at this stage. You've got such a point advantage at the halfway mark of this season. The only thing I've got to ask, are you definitely locked in for the remaining races? We're not going to see you miss around or anything like that between here and the end of the season?
I think so. I got nothing coming up, I don't think, work related, so should be alright. Sometimes I do have to go away, but so far I haven't heard anything, so thankfully I might be here for the rest of the season.
Well, I think you'll probably expect that your boss will be getting a bunch of calls tomorrow from some ASR types who just desperately need you away for a couple of weeks over the next year, mate. That's about the only hope I think they've got of shutting you down at this stage. But of course, it's racing. Anything can happen. Another great result for you tonight, though. Before we let you go, as always, an opportunity to say hello to anyone who's watching along at home, or to just say thanks to any sponsors you'd like to, mate.
Yeah, just shout out to my teammates at RER. All the support from them get me out on track is huge. Then to our sponsors, AITX, Shield Coat, Sudspeed, Kibby, Ladies Glassworks, Shaw 4x4, and I think that's about it. And then also thanks to you guys for the broadcast and the race control.
Always a pleasure to chat to you, Will. Thanks so much for dropping by at the end of this one, and we'll let you go and just end your night. How have you pleased at this point, mate? Well done, and looking forward to chatting to you again soon.
Cheers, guys. Have a good night.
Will Buchanan takes the win, and it really is looking very, very tough to stop him, isn't it, Isaac?
Yeah, it certainly is. He is untouchable at the moment, and as we get further on into this season, I will not be surprised if he continues to put in the strong performance that he has and pull away. We head next week to Sandown for a 250 kilometre enduro, which is going to be fantastic. Enduro racing at Sandown is always it's always a great spectacle, isn't it? And looking forward to seeing what they can do next week. Will Buchanan will probably be towards the front of the field, no doubt. But what other names are we going to see up the top of that field next week? Jared can mark point and continue this form that he has. Troy Stonestreet will be hoping to bounce back, as will Jason Bence, and hopefully we'll see Brian Borg back out there next week as well, who was missing tonight, and certainly going to make for an interesting equation at the top end of the championship behind Will Buchanan as we get further into the pointy end of this season.
Absolutely will. Make sure you don't miss any of the upcoming racing action. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do hit the button down below so you stay up to date with everything going on, and that, of course, you get the reminder about the Bathurst 1000 coming up on the 27th of September. Between now and then, though, plenty of racing still to come. The GT3 action returns tomorrow night with MC Motorsport, and then we'll be back again next week for our usual dose of iRacing. A big thanks, as always, to Gard St. Cobain for their ongoing support of the Alliance Sim Racing Supercar Championship, and to the other sponsors involved: Quantum Tint Solutions, West Automotive, Chubby Buns Burgers, Nicol Photography, and of course a huge thank you to the gentleman from 24/7 Sim Services for being up in the race control booth tonight and making sure everything stays on track as it should. A massive thank you to everyone watching along. It's been a pleasure having you with us again here tonight. My name's Jared Cole. On behalf of Isaac Fogarty and the whole Simple Racing broadcast team, do please look after yourselves. Until we see you next, it's goodbye for now.